fresh and
all right, welcome back to another episode of Fresh and Buds. I am your host, Tommy Fresh. You, as always, are all my buds. And today we are joined by, gosh, this must be, the fourth or fifth time you've been on the show, Mr. Patch. This
Third time's a charm, brother.
Third time's a charm. It's Mr. Pat Shaw, formerly of the Comment Chain, now of Off the Rails TCG. He's blazing some trails on his own. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Absolutely. And we got a lot to cover today. We're gonna kind of dive into our initial reactions of the spoilers that we've gotten so far. Which is almost all of them except I think the Fabled.
I think we're just missing the Fabled at this point.
Yeah, which I hope somebody open. I guess nobody is going to open it until 2 weeks from now, so I won't be reviewing it with Bill from the Spike Feeders. But let's just say the Fabled sucks, and I don't want to open it in hopes that it works in my favor to open it. But I digress. Before we get to all that, though, I do want to shout out the Patreon, which you can find in the show notes. Helps keep the lights on, the mics hot, and we got a bunch of bonus stuff you get access to, bonus episodes, pack openings that we don't open on the Bud Rush Bellow. You get a Romping Club membership card, which also gives you access to a patron exclusive channel in the Buds Discord, which, shout out to the Buds Discord, is free for everybody to join. We have a lot of great people in there, Pat included, and very active Discord, and it's a lot of fun. We talk about Flesh and Blood and basically anything. It's a good time. And also something new that we're going to be launching right after the Outsiders releases. We're going to do something, and this is kind of in workshop mode right now. It's going to be called Cracking Six with whoever, and it's going to be open up to patrons to kind of come on while I crack open 6 packs. We're going to talk just limited, right? I love limited, and the Buds love limited. That's Pat doesn't love limited, but he might.
I might. Look, very excited about the set.
Yeah, but we'll just it'll be a video series that I put on. Patrons can hop on and talk to me about what they like, and I'll be posting all that information on Patreon whenever it makes sense to do so. I think probably in the next week. And then shout out to the Bud Rush Bellow, which I mentioned before. I do it with Gary, aka Mr. Viz, Wednesday evenings, 9:30 Eastern. I believe we skipped this past week just because I'm moving and I had to record the set review and all that, but we'll be back at it as soon as I'm settled into the new digs. So without further ado, Mr. Pat Shaw, how are you, my friend? What is new?
I'm doing fantastic. What's new? Not much. Just a few things here and there. I launched my solo YouTube channel, Off the Rails TCG. So doing that, getting myself out there a lot lately. We recorded the UPF game with Az, which should be coming out later this month, which was a real ball. I did not expect to see my face in the Red Zone Rogue stream for an extended period of time as I did there, but hey, I'm glad I was a featured part of the sneak peek of the quiver that Az got to release there, and get my Ben Affleck emotion on my face for all that. So that was exciting. I was just recently on the Big Boss Book Club, which UK-based podcast does Flesh and Blood, wrestling, and a whole bunch of other things. I was just on there. That episode released today, so go check out the Big Boss Book Club to hear that, and that was a ball to be a part of.
I believe that's Tom, right, at the Big Boss Club. He's a bud. I've played some games with him, and he's a real winner. So definitely check that out.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, I'm fab dad, got wife, kids, family, all doing well. They like the increased time I have with them, so that's good.
Well, I mean, I got bad news for you and your family tonight. I'm keeping you on the podcast for 4 hours, and we're gonna no. I'm kidding. Please don't turn off.
Tonight we have the time. We have the time. I asked permission. I got it. We're good to go. You have me all night, baby.
Listeners, please don't shut it off. It's not 4 hours. I swear. You can also probably look at how long it is.
You can see the timestamp at this point.
But yeah, no, the UPF game was a lot of fun. I mean, just getting to hang out with you, Az, and Capolo for an evening was a blast, and you know, Az is doing the Lord's work by editing an insanely long.
Such
UPF
a monster, God, yeah.
I don't even know if my face was on the Red Zone Rogue stream because I saw that Az tweeted about it, and I was working, and I was like. I was confused at first, and I was like, I kind of put it together because I remember he kind of showed us the rarity and kind of what it was, and I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. So
yeah, everyone got on it, and then he stuck to me at like it was the moment like after the emotions. I was like, ooh, you know, and he's got that part on me. It's like, oh, all right, cool. There it is. I'm not self-conscious enough as it is. So.
Yeah, well,
especially having to follow Majin Bey, that handsome bastard, and I try, I really try, but man, it's hard to follow.
Majin Bey was probably one of the best looking guests I've ever had, on the show, but you're a close second there, Pat. Don't worry.
Thank you very much.
Hindale rounded up number 3. It's the big 3, as they say in Flesh and Blood.
Hell of a guy to have behind me.
Majin, Pat, and Hayden. Talk a little bit about Off the Rails TCG. So this is your new channel. This is you're doing content there. You're doing some, like, I think you even had your wife on to talk. Maybe not necessarily Flesh and Blood, but other trading card games, right?
Yep. Yes, that's right. So Off the Rails TCG, the concept here is bespoke project-based content with a non-linear release schedule. Basically means I'm going to make what I want, when I want, and release it when I have time to do it. And that is the ultimate freedom. I still want to do content, but at the end of the day, I wanted to do content completely on my own terms, and the situation at the combat chain was such that that window of opportunity was opened. And so I love Adam. There's no hard feelings. There was a point in our discussions that we were questioning what we were doing, how we were doing it, and what we would need to do to continue the channel on productively. And I established this concept that in order for me to do that, I would need to, I need to work independently and release what I wanted to release when I wanted to release it. And, that kind of opened itself up to, well, I'll just do this on my own. So I kind of ripped the Band-Aid off at the time and decided to step down and walk away from that and start my own thing. So I wanted to launch it right, but it was with two things in mind. I wanted to do Flesh and Blood content, and I wanted to do Disney Lorcana content. And I wanted to do that at times that worked for my family, because I was not with my family enough doing content as it was, and that's not the combat chain's fault. That was just part. It is what it was. Too much time spent behind the mic, in front of computer screens. Just doing what I'm doing, and yeah. So I wanted to do it right. I wanted to do it right by me. So I got I commissioned the logo. I opened the channel. I got the hosting site. I got the sweet intro music to the action point. I love it so much. And we're just kind of waiting for the right time. And the real kicker was that Ravensburger actually released more information about Lorcana at the time that let me and Ashley, my wife, fire off on that podcast too. So the two main focal points is the action point. It's the Flesh and Blood centered video podcast. I'm basically making it for YouTube, but putting it onto Spotify and Apple at the time. And You Made Me Inc., which is a husband and wife podcast about Disney Lorcana. And, it's a sneaky way to get the wife, who wasn't thrilled with my content, in on it. So now she can't complain.
Well, that's a brilliant move there, Pat. I gotta say, I don't know how I feel. I mean, I know the reference of "You Made Me Inc." But it just it's very. I was taken aback the first time I saw it, but I'm used to it now. Also, I mean, I'm not a lover of Disney, so it's not for
Yeah,
me.
we know you don't like happiness. I don't know what it is.
I'm
So
sorry.
it's her title idea, and
Okay.
she designed the logo herself. When you see it, so the squid and the design and all the color schemes and all that, that's all her. The action point and off the rails logo, that's me.
Well, I take it all back. I think actually, You Made Me Ink is an amazing title, and but no, I'm glad to hear that you're out there doing content, and I understand being part of a podcast, like especially the combat chain established had been established when you came in. There's that urge to always put out something every week or as much as you can. And that can affect, time with family. I mean, I feel it sometimes, there was a point in when I was making content that I was not hanging out with Lady Fresh as much as I would like to. And she definitely agreed. So, you kind of have to take a step back and kind of make sure your priorities are straight, which I'm glad you did. And, it seems like things are going well so far, and can you explain to me what bespoke means? I've heard it said a million times.
Bespoke is customized. It's to your own specifications. So what do I want to do? I want to do a deck tech. So when I say bespoke project based content, when the idea comes to me, I'll run with it as it's an independent thing. So I know that the action point is going to be my flesh and blood centered podcast. Will I release a regular episode every week? No, and I'm not. I've released 2 episodes. I have not released an episode yet. I'm recording one this Saturday with a handful of great people. I got Elaine Hammondtree, Clark Jansen, Tony Zacella, and Ashley Yvette coming on to the pod, and we're going to do a roundtable discussion. We're going to do top 5 for outsiders before pre-release. We're going to have a good time doing that, and that is, it's what I wanted to do on my time, kind of deal. So long term, I want to do some gameplay. I want to do more interviews. I want to do all of these things, but I'm going to approach them on an individual basis. So I'm not looking to line up, a year's worth of guests. I want to focus on, that one individual project at the moment. So a featured gameplay. I want to have 2 featured heroes. I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to get it down to, I'm going to edit it down to what I want it to. And I'll do that on my time, and then I'll release it, when I want. And that's basically it. I'm giving myself the freedom to do those kind of things. Once Lorcana comes out, you're going to see similar things with Disney Lorcana. I'll be doing Lorcana gameplay with hopefully the wife and the kid, and having some good times doing that. But yeah, basically it just means on my terms. You can get if you what's the movie? The Kingsman. They get bespoke suits.
Oh,
you don't get a suit off the rack. You get a bespoke suit. It's one for you.
It's all making sense. All the times I've heard bespoke, it makes sense in this context. It's just something I never asked, and then you said it, and it was like, well, who better to ask than Pat? Now, you're living the dream, in my opinion, of being able to just not stick to a schedule. But like I'm over here sticking to a schedule.
Yes, you are. You're soldiering on, man.
I'm soldiering on. This is episode 82, right?
Man.
Big guests coming up. Episode 100. We'll see if I land the big fish. But
you're getting J Dubs.
No, I'm getting I don't know, Shaquille O'Neal. Who's big? Yeah. But no, we'll see. We got a lot of great guests, and I love doing the podcast, so it's not really that much of a pain. But when I hear about you saying I get to make what I want when I want and release it when I want, I'm like, wow, he's living the dream.
There's a caveat to that, right?
Yeah.
So there, no bones about it. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into the combat chain. From the moment I jumped on there, I came in with a purpose, and I think I did what I expected myself to do. I elevated that name, right? I think I brought a a passionate, excited voice to the programming, an enthusiasm that might not have expressed itself in that way before. And we did our number. We increased our viewership. We increased our numbers. We got to where we wanted to go. And the combat chain right now is an established name, I think, in the Flesh and Blood content space. And I do think I had a large part to do with that. Walking away from something like that is tough. I have my freedom, and Adam was in no way holding me back or anything like that. It was, like I said, the two things kind of ended up happening, and just gotta live my life. But they're almost at 400 subscribers now, and started from less than 100. And we're starting to get some good numbers on the YouTube channel, on the views there. And walking away from that, I'm at 30, almost 40 subscribers now. And, even looking at something like Breezy just launched his YouTube channel, right? Before he did a thing, he's got 100, 100 and change. And you're like, shit.
Well, we're doing something wrong, all right?
Yeah. We talk about handsome faces in Flesh and Blood. He might be giving Majin a run for his money there.
Cutie patootie, that's for sure. But I get that. Walking away from something established that you work so hard for, it can be tough. But you and I'm seeing it obviously in real time. But you can apply all that to your own projects, and I mean, sure, the regulated schedule is usually better for growing stuff, but if you put out just bangers, right, it doesn't matter, right? So there's probably a really good Rihanna, right? When are we getting the next album, right? We don't know.
The Rihanna of Flesh and Blood content. That is absolutely.
I mean, it's a stretch, but it's there, right? We know that next album is going to be great, but when are we get it? I don't think anytime soon. She was just performing pregnant at the Super Bowl, so and I don't know if you're doing that, but
I'm not performing at the Super Bowl, nor am I pregnant, but I am working on a few things, and that's the other. There's a part of that where, in order to, if this is a purely passion project, right, and I truly don't care, then my numbers will never rise, right? At the same time, I'm fairly competitive by nature, and I had mentioned on the Big Boss Club, like, I know what your numbers are. I know what their numbers are. I know what TCG Talk just crossed 2,000 subscribers, I think, or as close to. Tall Timmy 2K. Who is the content creators in our space, and how do we get, are we below them? Are we meeting them? Are we a peer group with them? Or, are they a level above, and what does a level above get? Maybe a preview card, so, where you got to get to a certain point and make sure you're on even keel, and then you got to get up to, that next level. There's discipline, regularity in the release schedules and things like that will, eventually have to be met. And if I'm going to release content, it has to be timely and something that people want to watch and see at the same time. So it's important to make sure that, if I do choose something, that I am doing it to make it, it is relevant, people want to consume it, and it is not out of touch by the time I'm done putting the finishing touches out and releasing that. So that all comes with, the caveats, associated with it. So you still gotta play by the rules.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Pat, who needs 2,000 subscribers? I certainly don't, if you look at my numbers, but hey, listen, we're getting there. This is actually a great time to plug. Hey, right now, if you're listening, watching, subscribe to me. Subscribe to Pat Off the Rails TCG. Like I've said before, at 500 subscribers here at the Fresh and Buds channel, I will be doing a full Levi cosplay on the Bud Rush Bellow and full adult
Real
Levi.
tentacles. I've heard. Gary will be consumed by the demonastery energy. It's going to be the last time we see him, but Tommy's committing to it.
We had a good run. And Gary's going to be the rabbit that Levi killed. So, I don't know. Yeah, give us an old subby wubby over there. So, let's talk Flesh and Blood.
Let's do it.
We talk content long enough. The people want to hear about Flesh and Blood. So, before we get into the spoilers, let's do. Well, actually, it's kind of getting into. It's a good way to start. The fresh faves. Normally, it will be like fresh faves of all time or whatever, or the last set. But you've been on the show. We're gonna do your fresh faves of the current spoilers that we've seen, which is all of them except the Fabled. So, the Fabled will not be an answer. Which is your favorite hero?
My favorite hero is Arachne Solitary Confinement.
Why is that?
I think he's the next Ira. It slaps. I've put it together. I've been testing it. It is super, super fast. The simplicity of the text body. And it says, your first attack with stealth each turn gains go again. You can do so much with that. And I have already. Take Prowl, for instance. So Red Prowl is a stealth assassin attack that says, it attacks for 3, blocks for 3, says your next stealth attack gets +1. So just in a vacuum, you start at 19 life. You can go Scar for Scar, 4 go again. You can go Prowl for 3 go again, which is the first stealth attack with go again, into Infect for 4. So now you have a breakpoint attack followed up there. None of that has cost anything. And so you can still have like a spike in Arsenal and a pitch card. You don't even have to have a pitch card. If you use the chess piece, you can free spike it on top, but you can go, you can add 3 on top of that and come in with 7 and get 2 Bloodpox tokens on top of that. So not only are you hitting for 7 and 7 is 14, you have 2 Bloodpox tokens that are worth 6 resources or 4 damage on top of that. It's just Arachne go burr. On top of that, I think it's probably the best hero early that will utilize the knife throwing mechanics coming out. So Hurl, I have won games with Hurl. I have won games on Arachne with flick knives. You can do all of that damage, and then for free as an attack reaction, just flick them for 1, that the unblockable damage.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm not surprised that you picked a Blitz hero, because I know you just love that format. I feel like you're the Bizarro me sometimes.
It's a great format.
Yeah, you love Blitz, you love going fast, and then I'm over here. I love CC with a passion. I want to build up something, which is usually just blood debt, but it hasn't really worked out so far. But hey, we're getting there. All right, which is your favorite equipment or weapon? Let's do weapon. Sorry,
weapon. There's so many yet so little to choose from. I think I am going to go with the easy way out is one of the many daggers, but I think that bow, the barbed Castaway, I think that's a great weapon given the context of what Riptide does, to be able to freely put a card face down into Arsenal when you play something from hand and then instant use that bow to flip it and put an aim counter on. Great stuff. Token, don't have to worry about it. It's a good thing.
Yeah, the Barbed Castaway, the more I think about it, is so... I mean, its beauty is in its flexibility. Pun intended, is a bow, but it is really, I think it's really elegant in design, if I may say so. But a lot of those daggers are also really neat. Is there a common dagger for?
Yes, it is the Spider's Bite. Spider's Bite is the token dagger for assassin.
Oh, that's actually really good news, I feel like, right? Is that downshifted in rarity? Is it a rare?
Yes, yep. It was a rare in Dynasty. It is a promo on Dynasty, and I just got the second gold foil, the opposite facing one. There, I was so pumped for for everything, and I feel like the guy from Office Space who needed a stapler. I was promised contracts. I wanted contracts.
Yeah. You're gonna burn this place down.
Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite equipment?
Ooh, equipment is flick knives. I am on the flick knives copium. Both ninja and assassin. I think this is it. It is reckless swing on the arm piece. I've been going back and forth with a bunch of really competitive players that are like arguing the value of it, and it's just like you can kill that. You just kill them. You just kill them at the end of the game, as long as you have your daggers out. No one's trying to break daggers like as Katsu for the first two turns of the game. So you're just weaponless, and you're like, oh, now they start at 38. No one's doing that. But you know what? The inevitability of knowing that if you drop below a threshold, like reckless swing into Reinar, that has a real factor on how you play the game from that point on. So you're not just in Kadachi lock, right? You're not trying to overblock. You don't have the decision to make at that point, right? To overblock and respect the razor, you just are dead unless you have Oasis Respite, or something going on there.
Yeah.
So I really like it for both assassin and ninja.
I feel like we've also had that art for a long time, right? Flick knives.
It's been around for a while. I think the Pro Tour art had that initially, along with the Infiltrate art,
Yes.
So it's been around for a little bit, and it's nice to actually see it on a weapon. I'm also a fan of the Infiltrate art. It's a good thing. So I got the sleeves coming.
I don't know. This knives out art is pretty insane. Which is brings us to the next category here. What's your favorite run of the mill card? Your attack actions, non-attack actions, reactions. There's a lot of them that you put into your deck.
I think. Can I have two?
Sure.
All right. One is premeditate. I think that is a great fix to plunder run, and in ways is better. And I think it's less broken, right? It's a majestic. It's red only, so you only run those. I like that you don't have to play it from Arsenal. There are a lot of ways in this set to put things into Arsenal to enable its ability. So it's very intuitive to what the rest of the set wants to do and what your heroes want to do. And a ponder token is really neat. You get to draw the card at the beginning of your end step before you Arsenal. You're not going over your intellect or anything like that. So if you have 8 ponders, I think you draw 8 cards, but you're not going to draw 6, or something at the end just for having the 1. So I think it works out quite nicely. I know some people are afraid of it right now in saying that plunder. I hated plunder runs ban, so this is great for me. The second one is Descendant Gustwave. I think the set for Katsu was like Descendant Gustwave was a mystery. We knew what the beginning was going to be. We knew what the end was going to be, and everything was excited. But as soon as Dishonor said Descendant Gustwave, everyone wanted to know what that was and if it was going to be worth playing. And I think it exceeded expectations to the point where the people who want everything perfectly balanced or they think it's broken, they're on the side of, oh, this is broken, which is great. Give me broken stuff in Ninja.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I think I saw someone saying, and we'll get to it when we talk about the ninjas, but Katsu's still gonna have the brick hands, right? And that's just it.
You're saying it.
So it's. I think
I'm gonna hold them to that.
It's fair, I think, so far. I mean, I'll probably be proven wrong, but so far, I still think Katsu's probably just better. I don't think the best, right? So we'll see. Now, let's talk about the spoilers in general. So the first thing we saw was Azuri, right? Red Zone Rogue. His Spoiler was unfortunately leaked and was able to put it out early. And we saw Azuri. Azuri was a huge mystery. We were like, oh, is it going to deal with contracts? Is it going to do this? Is it going to do that? And I think actually Gary and I on the Blood Rush Bell had kind of nailed it, right? We were wondering if it's going to be a little bit like ninjutsu from Magic the Gathering, and it almost feels like it, right? So so Azuri, stealth card, you can attack, react, replace it with something cost 2 or less, and yeah, I mean it's a really cool ability. What are your thoughts here on Azuri out of the gates?
So this weekend was a fascinating one because the emotions were really, they were really ebbing and flowing. So like Azuri is revealed, right? And now everyone is now on Azuri. Every armory will forever just be all Azuris moving forward as of that reveal on, was it Thursday?
Yeah.
Thursday night, everyone's like Azuri's the best. As the weekend revealed itself, it really became a little complicated on how I think people are always concerned at this point about how you're going to break the hero and how is it going to overcome, the existing, I can't think of the word, the existing tiers of heroes, that are here already. So the 2 cost restriction is a bit interesting. Our initial reactions were, right, oh, this is new ninjutsu. I think the great thing about ninjutsu and like Yuriko in Commander was that there wasn't really a specific kind of restriction on like Yuriko's ability, right? You flipped a card, it was ridiculously overcosted. You might never ever play it, but you're going to deal 12 damage because of that condition, right? In a perfect world, Azuri has no cost restriction, and you can throw in whatever, regurgitating slog, things like that. So you can get your 3 for 8s, and I think people might have been like, oh, all right, this is a much more straightforward thing than it is. Azuri is a very complicated hero. It's super early, but I don't think anyone's been able to break it yet. I think people are concerned about its rate and its ability to scale. Right now, it looks like your lines might include some sort of dagger attack into a stealth attack and react into a 6 power with an on hit, depending on whether or not they block. Right, that's great, but that's also a pretty low ceiling. Right, you might have the resources and the cards to try and pummel it. But at that point, that you're saying your cap is 10 off of that with a potential on hit. But the ability to chain things together with multiple attacks to gain, to have, there's no go again. Go again's hard to come by. Those 20, 30 damage turns are hard to come by as it stands right now. People are still trying to figure out whether or not they can use contracts, and things like the Redback Shroud is very confusing to people. Because it requires silver, and I'm sure we'll talk about equipment in a little bit, but it's not the assassin that we know from Dynasty. Even young Arachne has nothing to do with Arachne Huntsman, and so like I know I was, and I know others were getting ready for assassin support and thinking we might get some support that Arachne could use. This is not Arachne, at all. There's very little that is compatible with either assassin going back and forth, and it makes it interesting. It's a little, and it'll take some time. I do think that there's something there. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure what. I think someone's going to have to get a combination of those early power 6 power on hits with a late like stealth based attack, and still have things like the spikes to play with to really disrupt, get those tokens going, and play that kind of value game. Like Icelander, things like that. If you can play those matchups where each of you are dealing 6 to 10 damage a turn and working on incremental values, I think this competes with everything. I don't know if it can race with the top tier aggro decks.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. So, when I'm looking at it and I think more about Azuri, right? You want to stealth into the 2 for whatevers, right? Because that's the discount, right? You're playing a red, or you're basically pitching a red for a 2 cost thing. In a way, if you think about it, right? You're playing the red, and then pop that into the bottom.
Yeah, right. I think the elephant in the room here, right? If ice didn't exist, this is 60 red cards. All right, and this is fire, and no one can convince me otherwise. It is a crazy awesome deck. If ice doesn't exist,
well,
Frostbite was a mistake.
I mean, that's a discussion for another time, but maybe you're right. They'll just all LL, and then they'll just print more. But it's Azuri's really, really cool. I think, and this is gonna be a common theme with the rest of our conversation here. I think this is I'm hoping it is such a well-designed set for limited.
Yes.
It really has that feel. There's all these like weird checks and balances, right? It's so cool that you can draft stealth cards and kind of just be open, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're an Arachne or Azuri, which is really neat. And then you get the whole Dagger thing going on, which is neat as well. Which is something that should be mentioned about old Arachne. Kind of adding that Dagger thing to that deck almost makes it a little. I mean, it definitely makes it a lot better, in my opinion. And getting the Redback Shroud as well, the new legendary chess piece. So Azuri's interesting to me in that way. The constructed side feels very good, but I believe someone made a point on Twitter. I just read Twitter all day, and these are points that I see. But someone made, it's like, well, it's the learning curve against it is like playing Dory. I think that maybe David Root who tweeted that. It's once you get the feel for what the deck is doing, you can be if you're a good player, you can kind of learn to counter it. Obviously, it's not always beatable, right? I mean, if that was true, Dorinthia would never win a game ever, right? And in competitive play. So I imagine Azuri to kind of fill that kind of slot. Maybe potentially more powerful, because any kind of 2 cost something that's printed is always going to be something you look at for this deck.
Yeah, and I think there might be. I think everyone's going to be guilty of this in the beginning, right? It might be that the concentration of stealth versus payoff, cards doesn't necessarily have to be as high as people think, right? Everyone's throwing all the assassin cards together into a pile and seeing what they can come out with, in addition to 2 cost generic 6 attacks with in on hit to them. But if you look at Arachne Solitary Confinement, that stealth ability doesn't require 40 stealth cards in order to be effective. You just need the 1. Yeah. Right, or potentially 2, depending on what you're doing there. But you can play other cards and then do your thing with the stealth card, and do your payoff with it with both assassins, and that might be worth exploring. If you can chain together, this is another like red style deck, but all of a sudden E-strike into Ravenous Rabble into stealth with a payoff in hand, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a way to get those things over. I think people are really concentrated on the fact that the daggers are 2 cost for 1 damage, and they have their places where the resources are available to them. But I think the throwing aspect and the reloading aspect is vastly under, not looked at enough right now. Flick knives. And there's only the one reaction to do the reload there, but I think it's just something worth looking at, and I think that's how you're really gonna kind of put things together for all of these heroes.
Yeah, definitely. And something interesting. Well, actually, something that it's nice to see that all these stealth cards at the blue attack for 1, and it kind of works with that new generic. What the heck is it?
Oh, the boot there.
The looking for scrap. As an additional cost to play it, you may banish a 1 attack from your graveyard if you do it against Go Again. And plus 1, so a 1 for 5 Go Again. I mean, there's like some really cool stuff going on here. And a lot of blended stuff, right? You see these like attack reactions with stealth. They're for stealth. It's going to live in Young Arachne, solitary confinement. But, it doesn't say you could play them in Azuri. And folks are going to be like...
100%. I think if there's a way, the blood rot token, those tokens mean something.
Oh yeah,
right. Like the Bloodpox token, it is 2 damage or 3 resources per card. If you can chain those together, either together on the back end with something like, right, if you can do a codex of blood rot into an infect with a spike of Bloodpox. I think I said those all accurately. Right, if you do all of that, that's 3 tokens of Bloodpox on their side, which is 9 resources or 6 damage a piece. That is how you get cards that would be either at rate or slightly below above rate. At that point. And that, I'm not there. I don't know how to piece those together consistently enough to get the tokens going on my opponent's side, but they serve a purpose. Inertia can do bad things to Icelander, taking away the arsenal. The frailty is going to hurt things like Phi. If you can put these out there and really leverage those on hits into doing more than just 6 true disruption, then hey man, it's got there's the potential there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Azuri will land in like tier lists, right? Because it's no doubt powerful, and there's a lot to discover, I think, with this deck, and I think that's actually pretty true for every hero that we're going to talk about.
Yes,
except maybe Arachne Solitary Confinement's like play stealth cards and
well, even that like sharing notes with some other people who were building it. Not everyone's on the aggro plan. There's a lot of like double dagger into a value thing into a spike, and I think that's too slow. That's all. As soon as I saw that and put it together, Prowl is what did it for me. It's like, okay, I can do 3 into 4 for 7. Why can't I just do more? Let's vomit cards onto the board and see what happens, and try to go as fast as possible.
Yeah. I feel like that's where it's going to land, but we'll see what folks can come up with. Now, Ninja. You are an experienced Ninja player. I am not. I'll admittedly outside of Phi, right? But Katsu and well, I guess Benji gets some spice here too. These are the draftable heroes. But we also just got potent constructed cards here, right? Dishonor, Cyclone, Roundhouse. There's all kinds of really cool stuff. Benji got a specialization that basically just gives Benji...
gives him Katsu's hero ability for a turn, pretty spicy.
Which is kind of funny. And there's a lot of crazy stuff going on here. Bonds of Ancestry, which we've seen for a while. Where do you see Katsu and Benji, Blitz pretty well. What does this do for this deck? These decks.
We'll start Blitz and work our way up. Benji has been a one trick and really got hamstrung with the pouncing link span in Blitz. It's still like you can catch people, and the crouching tiger stuff helped a bit with Benji. Benji isn't flooding the Blitz places that I frequent and play there. So every once in a while it comes up. it does its thing, and if you don't have the armor, it can run you over without you having the ability to do anything. So every once in a while, it can catch you. Did it gain something that really brings it over the top, like the Pouncing Lynx did to get the Spring Tidings? I don't think so. That the specialization to get the Katsu ability for a turn is good because you can get that consistency that is missing and actually chain some things together and get the combo payoff going there, and especially in a draft environment where you're gonna have to draft you're gonna draft 2 power combo cards, or at least starters and a combo card. You're gonna be able to need to sequence those together to really gain the benefits out of them, especially those like the two card like head jab combos, things like little things like that is gonna there is really gonna matter. Katsu, Katsu's fallen out of favor in recent times, but it's almost solely because of like Oldhim, right? And its inability to really overcome Oldham's ability just to negate Katsu or Kodachis just in general, right? Crown of Seeds and Rampart just -2s you, and you get no hits with your Kodachis. I don't know if they gained anything to really combat that. The Vambraces of Determination is an interesting piece of equipment that you just have to think about. Like, all right, that's likely the Crown of Seeds tech that they were talking about coming into the set here. Is its application practical to Katsu? Are you if you're both running Tunic, it's going to be this kind of like Mexican standoff of who's going to use a Tunic and try to use their resource to prevent the prevent. Every 3 turns that's going to happen. And if you have like infinite time, and infinite opportunities, sure, you can ping one and eventually maybe get them down to 0. But I think giving its conventional lines, it's really tough to see how Akatsu still goes over the top on Oldhim specifically. Now, for the rest of the meta, I think Katsu gained consistency, and I think you'll see it in the top aggro decks again here, much like it was in the Chain Seeds meta, right? Akatsu was one of the only decks that could keep up with Chain Seeds. It still needed some things to fall in place, but even like Prime Briar was like a half step behind Chain and was unfavored into that matchup. Katsu was still unfavored into Seeds Chain, but you knew if you won the die roll, you could win the race, and it wasn't just it wasn't like a 90-10 situation for Chain. Like, you had a real chance of beating him with that race. I've been a huge fan in particular of the surging line since forever. I'm a 9-wave guy. We have the 9-wave gang. People who run 9 Whelming Gust waves, like, rise up. We I run 6 surging and 9 gust waves. If you want to go more aggressive, you usually cut the gust waves and the yellow surgings and try to do some other stuff, but you end up with just a kind of a meh Katsu list, in my opinion. I think the Dishonor line really solidifies Surging Strike as the go-to line in Katsu. Be Like Water is a great supplement to, like, you don't have to run blue Surging Strike now. You can run it's a 0 for 3 with Go Again. That can be a Surging Strike. So you get that ability and flexibility out of it. And if you're not going to use it, it's a discard to Katsu. It's a 0 cost. Yeah. You can do ninja things with that. I think what you're going to see now, so we were talking about, people saying that it can brick. I think what you're actually going to see here is a solid foundation based on that Surging Strike line, and you're going to see decision points where you can branch from one way or another. And what you do with those decision points and how you branch is going to be important, and it's going to depend on your matchup, and it's going to depend on what your opponent is doing there. But you're going to have the opportunity to decide whether or not that next card is a Whelming or Descendant Gust Wave, and whether or not you move on to Magenchi or Bonds, that Dishonor line doesn't need a hit on the line, and that is huge, right? You still need Surging, Descendant, Bonds on the line in order for Dishonor to take away the hero ability. But you can chain those together and not have to, like, they get the bonus moving forward. There's no concern about missing an on hit during that line until you get to the end there, and it's really, it's great. Bonds of Ancestry lets you, is another avenue to filter. There is a hypothetical build here where you're running Mask Pouncing Links, and with Bonds, Katsu's ability and Mask Pouncing Links, you have like all the consistency in the world to get the cards you need, and right through to the finishers.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, right? So you're mentioning the Surge and Strike lines, right? And I think that you're right in the fact that it's probably going to be the most potent version of Katsu that we see, which in turn opens up Katsu even more for folks trying to kind of play off of that expectation, the surging build, right? We've seen it before with Katsu, right? Being able to kind of go turtle or whatever. Now we even got the cats, the kitty Katsu. So in that respect, if the surging version of the deck gets to a point where it's not a problem, but like something that you would expect at a tournament, all of a sudden it opens up the deck building and what you can present against, and even like the sideboarding gets even crazier, which is the coolest thing. So I think Katsu is a huge winner here so far from what we've seen, but I think the next biggest winner has to be Azalea, right? Yeah,
I'd say so. Right, I think some of the biggest things there, those like her arrows are gross, but some of those non-attack, like toxicity, right? Toxicity is gross, and I think it works best in Azalea. Maybe Arachne, but for constructed, like Azuri isn't going to work. It doesn't work with Azuri's ability. You're going to play it. It's going to look at the stealth card. You're going to swap it out, and you're going to miss it, right? So Azalea, and potentially Riptide is going to be, I think, the biggest benefactor of that. But everything from there's no death dealer in this set, so you still have the barbed castaway, but it gives that aim counter. It does the thing. So all the aim counter cards that we got from Dynasty, those get buffed. We have quivers.
Quivers are huge.
And I am talking out of my ass because I am not a Ranger player. But the laces, right? The infecting shots, the lace with Bloodpox, frailty, and inertia. The Fletcha blue, red, yellow, non-attacks, premeditate, we talked about already, but that is like amazing Azalea card. And the codexes, right? Like there's so many of these things. That is a ranger assassin hybrid. So you have the ability to constantly load your arsenal up going on there. But Azalea scares the crap out of me. Lead with toxicity, give it a buff, and give it dominate, and people are in trouble.
Yeah, and Azalea was, I think, Azalea was always kind of like this bottom tier hero or whatever, and shout out to the Azalea Cult and stuff like that. But I don't think it's true anymore. I think we're seeing a world where huge dominated eras with Bloodpox tokens and even barbed undertow. Just looking at that card, being able to just choose, you can't pitch blues this turn. That's insane, right? Or even if you're playing against Prism or whatever, you can't pitch yellows or Dromai. You can't pitch reds, and what do they do? And it's very, very interesting and kind of scary. We got the amplifying arrow as well, which just
amplify arrow is just nuts. It is such a nuts just item that is a card that exists now. To your point, so hashtag shameless plug. I got to call the match last week with Frank Hung, Levi Roush versus James Adam, right? Showcase match. Azalea versus Icelander, born of a very friendly disagreement on who would win, and I believe James Adams' contention was that a slightly different variant on Icelander was in fact favored into Azalea, but he got kind of bullied into the Bolander version specifically. But I think Levi Roush piloting that, he's been done an extraordinary job. He's the champion of the Azalea Cult. He is, I think, by far the best Azalea player in the world. But he is a fantastic representative of what her potential really is, and kind of the ideal way to be playing her. I had the opportunity, so he won. He won it was a best 2 out of 3 match, and Levi beat James Azalea over Icelander 2 times in a row, like handedly. The first one was not close. The second one was a little closer, but like Azalea constantly had it in hand. And if you want to get into, we'll touch into some Azalea theory here just for a moment.
Go.
What Levi was able to do was to really display the efficiency that she has in her first like 2 or 3 cards, that she can really take these smaller hands and produce. At one point, I forget the exact combination. I believe it was like a take aim into a headshot from Arsenal, but it was 9 damage over 2 cards. The fact that Death Dealer draws you a card, right? So you're not losing as much as one thinks by going through all of these actions here. What you do get is diminishing returns as you add cards onto your board state here. So you can start at 9 damage for 2, but to keep adding additional cards onto that with the buffs and all those things, you don't end up with a equally exponential damage ceiling here, where in theory you would think that at that point, if I add 5 cards, I'd be dealing 20 damage, when in actuality, if you play like all 5 cards including your arsenal, as Azalea, you might end up at something like 12 or 13, which is like much below rate here. But so being able to stay efficient with her by using these 2 and 3 card hands, taking advantage of her ability to dominate some of these arrows and really create those awkward on hits is kind of, I think, the recipe for her success here. And I think it's definitely worth taking a look at that. It's on Frank Hung, the Lazy Dogs YouTube channel, and it is like the textbook way to play Azalea. And she just gets scarier and scarier with this set.
She really does, and yeah, I mean, definitely watch that video. I got the pleasure of not playing against Levi, but playing next to him multiple times at the Calling Indianapolis, and I was just like, oh my god. Like, this is insane, and it's so impressive. Levi's incredible. Hopefully getting him on the podcast soon, but just insane. And I'm scared, like you are, of the potential of Azalea after this set, because we get a lot more crazy buffs, these laces, and if you're running the aim counter package, we get crazy on hits, and it's terrifying. Now, the huge difference here, right, of the 2 Rangers that we got, right? We got Azalea. I think we kind of have a grasp of how we want to build Azalea, right? Yep. Big dominated arrows, buffs on hits, and that's kind of it. However, now we got a new hero, Riptide. Oh, yeah. And like you said before, Azuri, everybody's like, Azuri, this is going to be every single person's playing Azuri, every single armory. Goodbye, Azuri. It is,
yeah. Who's Azuri?
Who is
Riptide? Is it It's just
Riptide's insane, and I am an immediate Riptide stan. I knew I was going to be based on his art, but this is a hero, and I'm only saying this with certainty is because I've spent the last 48 hours thinking about this stupid deck. Like, how am I supposed to build this? Because Riptide's a hero that you're like, I should look at every single bow, which quivers the best. The quiver is probably a little bit less so, but and
quiver is quiver is one of those things. It's zero opportunity cost, right?
Yeah.
Like it is what as they say, free tendies. You just pick one. Pick the one that works for you, and you throw it in there. It doesn't take up. It does not remove something. Except it takes up one equipment slot in your 80 cards there. So other than that, and really, what was that at this point? What, an extra piece of null rune or something? I don't know what Rangers pack for equipment. An additional bow. I don't know if they're running Dread Boar, something along those lines. But yeah, you just throw in the one that works for you. And I don't know. The legendary seems nice. I don't know if that is a legendary ability. I don't know if Rangers are going, yes, this is it. Or if one of the other bows might be more applicable, or quivers might be more applicable for them at the moment.
The Quiver of Abyssal Depths, it's the legendary. I think it's sideboard for anything that's going to try to fatigue. The Ranger decks, which I think is a lot of decks.
I'm looking at it right now. It's got all sorts of. It looks pretty evil. Have you seen the art?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's some stuff going on.
Some Shadowborn abominable looking.
I know.
Stuff right there.
I wish Levi could play it. Shuffle a couple non-6s out of your graveyard.
For sure.
Get those Art-of-Wars back in your deck.
Clean it up.
And then the Quiver of Rustling Leaves is, I think, probably something that a lot of these Rangers are going to like on a more consistent basis. Now, Riptide's interesting, right? I think it's so hard, right? I'm working with the Barbed Castaway.
Yeah.
It feels correct. To play a 0, like Scar for Scars, right? It's the easiest thing, right? He starts with lower life. Scar for Scarf, 0/4, go again, load a arrow, attack. Give it an aim counter with your Barbed Castaway or whatever. That seems like maybe what this deck wants to do, but you don't know because it has this trap text, which is whenever a trap triggers, deals 1 damage, right? This is not damage you can block. It's Steelblade.
Yes, it's just right. Steelblade style damage, reckless swing, flick knives, right? We're just auto damage, auto kill, right? If they're at 1 and a thing happens, that's it. They're cooked.
Yeah,
a great ability, and it's inevitability, right? If 40 traps trigger, they're dead.
I don't know if we're getting to that many, but
40. Let's do it.
It's interesting because the traps in this set do not have the original trap text that you need to play from Arsenal. It's
much more flexibility.
Automatically way better because then you can play them, load something with his first ability, and then maybe even block with that if it's another trap, which is really cool. But they do not. I believe the ability works this way. They do not trigger unless the conditions are met, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
the Crucible traps. And you know what? I think if Riptide was revealed earlier, I don't think anyone would care about what the Crucible traps said. Everyone's happy that you can play them from hand now. But if you told me that the hero just loads it for you and you don't have to worry about it, you probably would be okay. Like you could still play a defense reaction. Yeah. Right? You play a card from hand. Right? It's a trigger, right? Whenever you play a card from hand, you may put a card from your hand face down into your arsenal. Yep. So it doesn't need to be a trap. You can do this with anything. You can double D-react all you want. With any D-react. You can just
favor scene. I mean,
You can have your unmovable in hand, place, block with, well, you can't block with something, but, you can play
Sink
a
below.
simple
Yep.
unmovable in, and you have the blue pitch, just do it. Like, it's there. You don't have to be concerned that something like that is there. That being said, right, those are very defensive in nature ways to build Riptide. And I think everyone can agree that this ability is great, and there is great value in being able to freely put a card into your arsenal. And I've seen, my initial instinct was like, right, how fast can I go? Now, do I even need a bow? What can I do with this thing? And there are still ways to go about this where all of a sudden, you take a second look at things like Promise of Plenty or Trade In, or, all of those, go again from Arsenal generics. That might be the only two. I'm not sure, but
there's one more. I forget what it's called. Oh, God.
But they're, yeah, right. Yeah, right. Scoured, a Battlescape there. But all of those things become suddenly better knowing that you don't have to wait till you're right. You don't have to wait till the end of your turn. Put it in there and set it up for the turn afterwards. You can just do the thing. Now you can scarf for go again. Put Promise of Plenty into Arsenal. You can play a premeditate to break the combat chain. Promise for 6 now, right? And on hit, put the card, and it's very Channel Not Heroic-y.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of, like, obviously you're gonna have to do some trap things because traps,
the game.
but at the same time, do you have to? I'm very curious about where we can take Riptide so far away from Ranger. I'm just curious to see what we can do with that.
Yeah, I am interested as well. Now, do you have to play the traps? No. I think you still play the blue legendary ones because it's such a low cost.
Yeah, for sure.
And the effects on them are pretty incredible. And then I think you probably look at the yellow rares. Boulder, Pendulum, and Tar Pit. Maybe in a sideboard kind of transformational kind of thing going on.
Look at Pendulum Trap. It is
it's gnarly.
Disgusting. It is gross. It is gross.
But you're bringing up some great points. Like, what is Riptide just gonna be like the best aggro deck we've ever seen? Like playing really cool underrate cards, but that are above rate if you play them from Arsenal. It seems awesome. Now, something that I do love about Riptide and the set in general is the printing of Trench of Sunken Treasure. Which is an insane legendary. Now, for those of you who don't know, it is a Ranger equipment chest. It has 1 block. It has Blade Break. It also has Arcane Barrier 1. And it also has a once per turn instant. You may put a face down card in your arsenal to the bottom of your deck, gain a resource. Now, this is pretty important, I think, in Riptide. Because
for sure.
Because it can filter out a useless trap that ended up in there, or just jumpstart your turn so that you have an empty arsenal to start going. Now, the question here is, what is the headpiece that Riptide's going to play in Constructed? I don't think anybody knows yet. I think people.
I don't know if we know for sure. Anyways, I mean, there's New
Horizons, Skullbone, Cross Wrap, and then just generic stuff that you can do.
Like a Crown of Providence, right? You can, Crown of Providence is there if you want to clear out something junky there. I don't know, and this is I don't know. New Horizon, do you need the second arsenal? Can you utilize that? Is it work? You got to have one. Is it one face up card in your arsenal to get an additional space? Is that the condition for New Horizon?
Yeah, which the Barb Castaway helps with, right?
Right, you can flip that so you always have.
And then so does Sand Scour Bow or whatever. There's so many options here. I think Riptide. And this is I mean, I should say that we are recording this on Monday. All the spoilers have been out for less than 24 hours.
It's crazy.
I mean, it was a busy weekend, and I don't think this, in my opinion, and maybe it'll become more clear once we play limited with Riptide as to how we're supposed to be building Riptide, or even just look at the Blitz deck that they put out. But what there's so many possibilities. I don't think I've ever seen a hero have this many possible iterations.
Yeah, I think he's wide open.
Yeah,
and I think it's fantastic. I think out of all the heroes, this might be the most like original hero, if that makes sense. Like it is, it's a fantastic ability with clear value, but an completely unknown ceiling, right? And there are so many different ways you can do with it. And we're really burying the lead a little bit here about the legendary chess piece. It is a pirate coat.
Oh yeah,
all right.
Sure is.
Yeah, there are people campaigning out there being, oh, that means we're going to get pirates. Maybe you're going to get pirates, but I think what this establishes is that you're not going to get a pirate class. You're going to get a ranger with a tri-tip hat on, and you're going to like it. Yeah. Those are your pirates. You're just going to have to deal with it. Pirates and rangers in Flesh and Blood.
And it's going to shoot harpoons and cannonballs.
Yeah, they're swashbuckling adventures. Look, Riptide is not a wood-faring lithe Legolas type. That is, he is Bruce the Shark is what he is, and I just love that. The GM's video, as soon as I heard that, like, wriggle little fishes, I was like, oh yes, that's exactly what he sounds like.
When DM Armada asked what Riptide would sound like, I posted Pee Wee Herman. I was hoping he'd go with that, but Bruce the Shark is a little bit better. Now, yeah, so I think we can conclude that Riptide is
all friends.
Not
I
food.
Love that.
I know some Disney.
Not food.
Now, Riptide is the most open hero in terms of, the possibilities, right? Azalea is pretty much on rails. Katsu, play combo stuff, do whatever. In a way, like Riptide feels. This is going to sound weird, but Riptide feels dual classed, Ranger generic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess every hero's like that, but Riptide's like, have fun with your generics.
Yeah, and that's what I think makes it so wide open, because you can really put anything from hand into play, and you create an effect when you do that, and that is much more wide open than I think anything else that we're doing right here. I think if Azuri had no cost restriction, I think we'd be talking more about her creativity, at the moment. But they put that cap on her, and it's really, I have not gotten the chance. I've built assassin things, and I've done Katsu things, and I have not done anything with Riptide yet, but I want to discover what he's about and have some fun with him. I'm still trying to figure out if to wind it back to Ninja here. They threw in a few majestics. One of them is that Shuriken. I don't know how I feel about that Shuriken. And then the Katsu specialization is, like, when you read it, and Doa had a great video for it there, but non-blocks in Katsu are really tough to negotiate, and I don't know if I don't know if putting a surging strike on top is like what Katsu needs. From that, very interested to see the Cyclone Roundhouse combo and see if that's real.
Yeah.
I do, if you can get rid of Rampart or something like that, I think you have a chance against Oldham.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big part of what happens there.
Yeah, it's there's certain, I mean, yeah, the Katsu specialization, if it gets to the point where it's like Fi never wants to block, that's a totally fine card to play. But now, have you noticed something about the generics?
Yeah, maybe.
A lot of sixes.
Yes, there are. There's a lot of sixes, and there's a lot of, I think, underreported generics. And I do think some of them are a little gory, perhaps on purpose, but not in gory like blood rot, but gore belching and burdens of the past really. And Quiver the Abyssal Depths there, people gotta read between the lines. Things are happening. We gotta be aware of them. But yeah, right. So 2 cost, 6 attacks, generic, common, all the way up through Majestic. They all block for 2, I believe, for the most part.
Amnesia blocks for 3.
Amnesia blocks for 3. And yeah, it looks like it. Yeah.
So something interesting, and Breezy actually made this point that we're getting ready for the next Illusionist. They're giving us all these really cool things to pop.
We gonna talk about that?
Yeah, well, we got the next set coming out, the Dusk Till Dawn, Quentin Tarantino.
Thank you. Yes.
The return of Light Illusionist and Shadow Runeblade, and hopefully some just Shadow support in general. But that's
who called it? Who called it, Tommy?
You did?
I did.
You did it. I think a lot of people were calling it, but
acknowledge me. No.
So we're getting a lot of these cool on hit things like Amnesia. Cards and tokens they lose or they can't gain names. Down and dirty. I think people are down and dirty on this card. I think this card should be up and clean, if that makes sense. I think this so it's a 2 for 6, blocks 2, meh. But while it's in your arsenal, you may defend with it. Now, well, it's like, who cares? Who cares? Whatever.
Riptide cares.
Riptide cares, and it protects you from Dominia. Against Romai, right? There's like, oh well, banish the only 6 in it. Well,
I had to really check the Rolodex when you said Dominia. It has been a minute.
It's just, I think it's just a cool ability. I think it's really neat. I don't know if any of these 6s really help Levi. It's something that obviously I always look at whenever a 6 is.
I think it does if you replace all the blood debt with just good 6 attacks. You might have something going on there.
Well, that's actually something I made a point of. It's like we're getting all these more 6s for 2 with relevant on hits or relevant abilities. I compared them to Magic the Gathering's Hate Bears. This is Flesh and Blood's Hate Bears, right? So why not just play a bunch of Hate Bears and Levi?
6 for 2 specials.
You got Husk, and then you could play Husk and Shadow Puppetry, and then maybe like Boneyard Marauder for a 1 for 6 or something like that. The wheels are turning. It's probably not good enough, but gore belching was sorry Ethan, I know it was your spoiler card and
so confusing,
and I imagine you feel the same way about it, but I know that it does turn off blood debt most of the time in Levi, but this card is not good in that deck. Now I'm sure there's uses elsewhere.
Here it's good in chain.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Well, yeah, you throw the ghostly visit in your banish zone, and it still comes in for 3. It's kind of good.
You might get some howls in there or is it just is everything going banish?
Your
reveal and attack action. Yeah.
So you can't get the howls in, but you can get your other
ghostly
in there, and whatever the other ones are. Nothing crazy. I mean, I think looking for scrap is going to be probably a pretty playable card here. In some decks, premeditate's a big one. What's your take on destructive deliberation? This is a 2 for 5, blocks 2. When this hits, create a ponder token.
Well, as a Surging Strike lover, I have been getting shat on for liking a 5 for 2 for a really long time. I love the ponder token. I think it's a great token in the game. 5 for 2 is 5 for 2 is tough, especially as a generic. I don't see this doing a lot. I think there's other ways to get ponder tokens that'll be more popular anyways. So I'm not a fan. Who's going to use it?
Azuri.
And Right. So Azuri is going to be if they block for 6, there's nothing. There's no recourse.
Yeah.
It just is. It just is done. That is true for most of it, but in constructed, you might have some pummels and stuff going on there, but it just makes it that much harder to get over the top as a 5. Ponder's great. So you know what? If it's there, I think you pick it up. All right. I mean, if it's in limited, you're probably grabbing it anyways. I think if you have others there, you like cut down to size, or wreck havoc is great. But I don't know if it's are you picking it first?
No.
Are you looking? You're gonna put this into a brute deck? No. So I don't think it's a weird balance. Like I get what they're doing by subtracting one, given the ponder token, but I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, I think it could have been a 6.
Yeah.
It shows us how much they're rating ponder tokens, right? It's a whole point of damage,
Yeah, and it premeditates a majestic that gives a ponder.
Yeah. So hey, it's interesting. I mean, some of these generics are probably going to be useful. Mostly just weird 6s that folks play in their sideboards if it makes sense for their plan.
In a vacuum, I think this is all great.
Oh, yeah.
I have been able to play like it. I know, right? Blitz is great. Take these heroes into Blitz against each other, and you'll see what they're doing. Like just if you put something together and go onto Talishar, grab make sure you face something from outsiders, and they're great matches.
Mm-hmm.
They're really great, and together against each other, they all work because they're all in this. Really thinking about what you're doing, heavy reaction. Who's blocking more efficiently and better, where and how you're applying that leverage into different things. And it makes for incredibly fun games that have been, in the last 24 hours. I've played a handful, but even Arachne versus Azuri have had some great matches. I would face the Riptide and did really well. It was just a fun game there. And I've played some constructed Katsu. And it's Katsu's still good, and Azuri can hold her own, except for some of the beefier decks in the format. So that I think limited is going to be super exciting because of that. I think these all complement each other very well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited, and I think more generics in general is always good for the game, as long as they don't break it.
Stay open. You can stay open.
Stay open. Now, do you have any final thoughts on Outsiders initially before we say our goodbyes?
I have the mistake of hanging out with some really on Discord some people who take this game very, very seriously. I like to say that they don't believe in Santa Claus, and they like to slap you when you think about Christmas magic. And so I think the honeymoon phase is already over for some of the higher level people in the game. But those are also the same people that poo-pooed Crown of Seeds initially. It said Crown of Providence wasn't going to be that great. The player base, especially at the highest levels, right, notoriously undervalue these cards initially. So no matter what, it is going to take time for these decks to develop into a more optimal setting. So don't dismiss everything offhand. You're always going to have the Oldham Spectre behind you, but in the end, these are new cards. They add to the card pool of heroes, and they create new archetypes and new decks and new ideas, and open up new ideas to others. There are a bunch of generics out there. No one talks about which is it? Give and take.
Give and take.
Right? It is a 3-for-1 with Go Again. Whenever Give and Take is defended by an action card, you may put an action card with cost less than Give and Take, is a power from your graveyard on top of your deck. Low key, that's probably one of the best cards in the set, and it's just going to be, it's going to set you up. It sets you up. It takes away some of the fatigue problems you have. It's a little remembrance on a stick. It's an easy one to include in a lot of decks. So there are a bunch of cards like that are going to have different contributions to different decks, and I think over time we'll see that there is going to be like a really nice spread in the meta. I think everything from the token generation here, the frailty, inertia, blood rot. I think those are all just amazing effects, and will have some long-term ramifications. And that's my takeaway. Give it time. Enjoy it in a vacuum. Don't listen to the haters. Give it some time to mature.
Give it some time and have fun building these wild decks.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to be so much fun. I mean, Riptide, I know we talked at length about how crazy it is, but I think there's like a lot of other crazy things going on with these heroes that I think folks are going to really enjoy. This seems on its surface to be a very well designed set and going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Limited sounds like it's going to be a blast. Hey, listen, it might even get me to play some Blitz. Who knows?
Let's go. 40 cards.
Yeah, I mean, I heard Carrying Husk is pretty good in it.
It is a little OP.
And CC is going to be a blast to figure out. Hopefully these, some of these heroes kind of, we don't want, Uprising or Tails 2.0 here, right? Where it's just completely dominant, but we want them to be, competitive and fun, and to add to the experience of playing. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for the show, Pat. This has been a lot of fun. Can you plug everything? I know we talked. Actually, no, we had some listener questions. I'm sorry. Quick listener questions. First, Greg Big Dick Jones on the Discord asks, which hero would you want to take in a fist fight?
Oh, which hero would I want to take in a fist fight? Oh boy. That is, that is an easy question. I think I answered this in perhaps a different theme before, but Valda. I would like to fight Valda.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because she can win. she can have it.
Hey, listen, we know Pat ticks. Flake asked this to Majin Bay, but he also responded to both. What cards are booty cheeks, and who has the biggest dumper?
Who in the context of dumper? Who is?
I don't know.
Oh man. Well, I think Riptide's probably got the biggest dumper. He's got that huge dad bod. He's got that. He used to play football. Kept himself pretty. He was probably like a guard. Kept himself pretty healthy and kept eating and kept strong, but really stopped running, and that's why he's kind of falling apart. But he's built like that. But that just means he's got the dump truck under the loincloth there. Cards that are booty cheeks. I think the head jab cards are pretty garbage at first glance, and. I think there's some just kind of average arrows. I think there's gonna be better arrows, and I think that's really about it. Yeah, I'm not. I was really looking forward to like what would be expanded on from a combo standpoint, and those just the Twin Twisters stuff. I'm not a big fan of, and the head jab stuff I'm not a fan of there. So
certainly
that's what are booty cheeks to me right now.
Certainly just limited lines. Nothing to kind of look at beyond that, I would assume. And then Capolo asks, well, he asked some things about Off the Rails, which we talked about. But he also asked, will he ever be a guest?
Yeah, I didn't want to spill the beans quite yet, but yes, he's legitimately coming on. I believe the week after next, after pre-release weekend, he's going to be He's going to be helping Off the Rails break down the pre-releases and kind of talk experiences, and give the man a platform.
Yeah,
he's hungry for some conversations.
Let
him have it.
He's always asking to feed me, so that's what it means.
I had kind of asked him what he was up to, because I was looking for my roundtable discussion group, and I got people answering me, and so I didn't want to. There's gonna be 5 of us, so four guests and myself, and I wanted to keep it at that. Yeah. So, I didn't want to leave them out to dry. So, we're gonna commit to having Cap on to the podcast here soon.
Very fun.
There you go, Cap.
There you go, Cap. Never coming back on this one though. Sorry. Just kidding. Now, okay, that's it. Please plug everything, Pat. Please.
Man,
my friend.
I'm still not used to. I used to have a cadence to this that it was really smooth, but it's not anymore. My name is Patrick Shaw. I am the founder of Off the Rails TCG. You can find me on YouTube at Off the Rails TCG, also on Twitter under the same handle, and you can find my personal Twitter at Pat Smash Good. You can find the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and I think I gotta get a couple more listens for one of them in order for the action point, I think, to get onto Google Podcasts, but we're working on it. This is a ground up operation here.
Please.
And I think that's about it.
Check it out, folks. Buds, please do support and follow Bud. You can continue to find me on Twitter at FreshBudsPod. The YouTube, give the old like, comment, subscribe. If you listen on Spotify or anything like that, give us a review or rate us. Spotify, you can rate out of 5 stars. It's funny, I had a pretty good record of having a 5-star podcast, and then someone must have rated me pretty low. Now we're back down to, we're not back down to, we're down to 4.9. We got to bump those.
What? Man.
I think it's because I ask, and hey, listen, I if that's how you feel, rate it however you want, but rate it 5 stars.
If you don't rate this episode 5 stars, I'm gonna find you. Okay.
Well, it's not the episode; it's the whole podcast as a whole.
Oh,
but the Discord, the Patreon, all that stuff. Check it all out. It's in the show notes. It's the link tree. Pat, and the show talking about food. What's some food you're enjoying right now?
I came prepared for this one, so. I don't have the healthiest relationship with food right now. I don't know, it's kind of obvious. I'm a little large, but I was shopping today, and I found something that just blew me away, and I had to try it. So the Oreo, okay? You have the classic Oreo.
Sure.
Then there's the double stuff Oreo.
Okay.
And then recently there was the mega stuff Oreo, which kind of advertised as like a triple stuff, but it's really like 2.5 stuffed Oreo, but it's still still good. Today I discovered the Oreo of all Oreos, and in fact it is called the most Oreo, and it is massive.
Oh my god.
Look at that. There's so much going on here. It is cookies and cream filling, and it is like 3 Oreos. Have you I'm sure some people have partaken in some substances in their past and maybe opened some Oreos and tried to combine them. This is done for you already. This is ready to go with 3 to 4 cream filling in them. So it says for a limited time only. So the most Oreo, you'll probably make you hate yourself for eating it. It looks like it'll give me just diabetes as soon as I put this in my mouth. But I've already had a few, so they're really good.
Well, I got
the most Oreo.
I got 2 things on Oreos. First, I am a firm believer. This might not be a popular opinion, and I'm willing to make some waves over here. I think the original Oreo got it right with the ratios the first time, and any more stuff beyond that is too much.
Are you one of those people who's like, one serving is it's a leveled dry cup off there. That is the one serving. That's all I need.
No, well, I eat like a ton of them, but I think that the amount of cookie and cream was perfected in the original. That's why it's so popular and it's gotten to the point that it has gotten. But
Erroneous, sir. I disagree. The double stuff is the perfect one.
I think a lot of people agree with you there. But also the second thing, you showing that Oreo reminds me of an old Balloon Shop video on YouTube. If anybody ever watched that channel, it was a sketch comedy group starring Olin Rogers, who went on to do his own YouTube stuff, and then even had a show on TBS called Final Space. But they had an Oreo sketch where he started with a 20 stuff that they obviously made, and it was wonderful. And anybody listening, go check that out. But while you do that, please have a good week.